right, so folks, welcome back to another edition of FantomWorks Going Off-Grid. So we've just finished, or we're just finishing up, unloading 2 tractor trailers.
Good, let her down.
So what you're seeing there is 75,000 meals, and folks, we're not done. We still have more tractors coming in here with more meals on Friday. And speaking of Friday, we're only 1 week away from Black Friday. And Black Friday is our big day. That's when we're going to do the grand opening of FantomWorks Off-Grid and Easy Homesteading. Now, Easy Homesteading is kind of what it sounds like. Homesteading, eating good food, natural food, gardening, clean, pure water, and you know, living a different lifestyle, which today I'm living. We raise our own, my wife and I, we raise our own chickens, eggs, pork, beef. We have our own milk cows and goat cows, milk goats. I guess you don't have any goat cows. So,
Okay.
all right. So we're doing the easy home thing already by living off grid, and folks, it's a much better way to live than you know, going to a supermarket and buying what in many cases is filled with pesticides and filled with all sorts of stuff that you don't want. So take a look. In fact, a buddy of mine is now calling me the emergency ration king. So just get an idea. This warehouse is stacked 12 feet tall, and so far we're, that's about 40 feet deep by 25 feet wide. That's 75,000 meals. More coming. Black Friday, folks. Here's the deal. The first 100 people here are going to get a case of free MREs. As soon as they spend $50, they get a free case of these emergency rations. And by the way, look, I was in Spec Ops from 1980 to 87. Then I became an Apache pilot from 87 to 94. Then I went back into Spec Ops from 94 to 04. And during that time, I got a chance to eat everything. I ate LURPs, I ate MREs, I ate C rations from World War II. These are better tasting than any of them. So they called them chef meals, and I thought that that was just a label. It's not really a label. They're really good. So folks, come down here, limit of 10 cases per person, and once the first 100 have been given away, after that you can buy a case. You get here for our doorbuster specials. You can buy them for $2 a meal or $24 a case, and if you buy 10 cases, we're giving you another 10% off, so basically you're getting another free case if you buy 10 of them. These things are over $80 a piece. If you try to buy them today online, we're selling them for $24 a case. Come on down. 8 o'clock we open. The doors are going to be open. We're going to have people here waiting to help you out. And by the way, just give a quick glance around. You're going to see we got books, we got survival gear, we got survival vests and backpacks. And folks, every day new merchandise is arriving. So even if you don't see it on Black Friday, give us another few days and we're going to have more stuff arriving all the time. Now, I wanted to do something fun on the Facebook Live, so if it's all right, I'm just going to sort of walk this way. What's interesting about when people watch our show is they come up to me all the time and say, thank you for teaching us something on your show. And the biggest thing that I think I need to teach folks is how to inspect a car. Because when people bring me cars that aren't in good shape because they're lured in by a shiny paint job, unfortunately, let me tell you, shiny paint can be on a bad car And that's not the good way to buy a car. Hey, watch out, you got a big cable right here. So, so we're going to take a look at a car that surprised me, because when it first came in, I was looking at it and I didn't think a lot of it. Hey, Chris, you available? If you can come on out here. So this is a 1962 Oldsmobile station wagon. Now I'm going to point out some things. If you would bring the camera over here, and I'm going to sort of put my flashlight, and if I'm blowing out the, take a look here, and you can see this rust on the door, and this rust in this little, basically the C-pillar. And you can see that the car doesn't present super well. The paint is not shiny. The paint is old. There's chips on it. It just doesn't look really amazing. And quite honestly, most people, when you look at a car like this, they're not going to be all that excited because it just doesn't show well. And I'm not going to do today, but someday we're going to bring you into a shiny car and show you how looks can be deceiving. Now, Chris, when you first saw this car, what did you think? Were you thinking this was a jewel, or was this a pretty rough-looking car?
I was ready to run.
What?
I was ready to run.
Yeah, okay. I thought you meant it was ready to run. I was going to say it was anything but ready to run.
No, I was ready to run.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough-looking car, and when it arrived on a flatbed, I basically said there's no way this is a good car to build because it's just an old, beat-up station wagon. But then we took a better look at it. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you one more thing. If I can have you roll in here, I apologize for making you sort of walk around a lot. Can you come on the other side here? Take a look, and you're going to see carpets on top of carpets. That's never a good sign, you know, when you've got carpets on top of other carpets. And then take a look over there. You can see the A-pillar has been, like our little kick panels have been covered in, I don't know what that is, some sort of velour. Somebody went to an upholstery shop. So there have been some things done to this car that, again, when you first look at it, you're going to say, this is not the car I want. But, hey, Chris, can you go ahead and bring this thing up in the air?
Sure.
Because I think, look, I always talk about lifting the kilt. And so there's a saying is, once you've lifted the kilt, you can't unlift the kilt. Well, I use that same metaphor on cars. I always want to look at the very bottom of the car, because looking at the top of the car, looking at shiny paint, looking at a new set of wheels and tires can be very deceiving, and a lot of people are duped by what they see on top. I don't care what's on top, that's not going to get you a good car. So I tell people you always look for the 3 C's, and the 3 C's of building cars are corrosion, collisions, and completeness. And so and by the way, that's the most important first, corrosion. So let's start by evaluating corrosion on this car. So is my light too bright for you, or is that good? All right. So when you take a look at this car, you know, you're going to see here, and if you can sort of look up, you see a little bit of rust here, and this was, of course, where the radiator was. So the radiator probably, we had a leaking radiator.
Yes, we did.
Right? So that dripped on it some, but Chris, when you start actually looking at corrosion under here, what are you going to find?
That it was actually factory undercoated back in the day, and that really saved this car.
Oh. And so what else saves cars besides factory undercoating that we've discovered here a lot?
Garage, climate control.
Well, that too. How about oil leaks?
Yeah, now there's a lot of self-lubricating chassis out there.
Yeah, there is.
And that's what we call it when they leak oil so bad that you'll never get rust on it.
Yes, so this car, and try and get that camera under here. I know it's going to be a little tough for you, and I apologize for that. But you can see there's all sorts of, you know, in this case, this was power steering fluid that has leaked all over this frame member. But as you come back here, you can see, here, is my light too bright, or is it okay? Okay, so this frame member, or this floor pan right here, Chris,
Yeah.
Would you say that this is as nice as a 2022 car underneath right here?
Like I said, what's under that undercoat is going to be brand new.
Yeah. So folks, this isn't pretty looking. I mean, you can see here there's some, in fact, look, it's pretty nasty, right?
Oil leaks are hard on old.
Yeah. So this is where oil leaked in the undercoating, and so it's turned into just this goo, this tar. But you got to look beyond the dirt. You got to look beyond the grime. You got to look beyond a lot of this stuff. And what you're looking for is solid metal. Bubbles are bad, but grime and grease and undercoating, that's all good stuff. So as you look at this car, and you know, we'll look at just a little bit more, but even up in here, you look inside the wheel wells, and I'm seeing lots of dirt. I'm seeing lots of undercoating. I'm seeing you know, some oil sprays and spills. Like here, you know, you got clearly something was flinging oil on this, probably the transmission output shaft or something like that. Yeah. And yet it protected it. So from a corrosion perspective, this car is magnificent. I mean, I couldn't really say it's anything but perfect, other than where you saw that door, that little bit on the door. So I'm going to give this car a score of 9.5. And that's the single most important score a car is going to get. The next one is collisions. Now, as we've looked at this car, and by the way, I always look at what would have bumped the four corners. So come on out here if you don't mind. So we're going to look at the four corners of this car. And in here, I'm looking at this line. I'm looking at bumpers. I'm looking at bumper bolt attaching points. Chris, do you find any evidence on any corner of this car of any accident?
No.
Okay, and by the way, funny rule of thumb, if it's a sports car, look hardest at the front of it. If it's not a sports car, look hardest at the back of it. Because sports cars tend to have sporty people that drive into things. So I always look real hard. When I get a Corvette, the first thing I look at is the forward corners of the fiberglass. Here, I'm going to start at the rear because I've got a station wagon. This wasn't a person that probably went around and drove crazy or drunk or anything else. And as I look at it, everything here looks to be lined up. So this car, I don't know if it's ever even had much more than a shopping cart hit it. And when you get a car that is collision free, you've scored for a second time. And now we're going to look at the third thing. And do you remember what the third C? The third C of inspecting a car is? Completeness. All right, so completeness. So if you've got a 67 Corvette, completeness is not as important as it is on a 1962 Dynamic 88. Why is that, Chris?
You're not going to find parts for this car. They're unobtainium. Corvette parts are reproduced, and guys love them, and they swap them out, and they save all their old parts, and you can probably find what you need.
Right.
On a 62 Oldsmobile wagon, this is like the last one in existence, really.
It may be the only one left in the world.
You know, there might be some left that were crushed and turned into Toyotas.
Yeah.
You know.
So on this car, completeness is far more important than it is even on a Camaro, a Mustang, a Challenger, or a Corvette, because you take a piece of trim on the back of this car that is unique only to a 1962 Oldsmobile station wagon. What do you think the chances are in finding that trim anywhere in the world?
It's pretty slim.
Yeah. So we've finished our inspection of the bottom side of it, and we now can see that corrosion and collisions. This car on a collision scale, I got to tell you, I'm going to give it a 10 because I see zero evidence. I don't, in fact, if you come up to the front, here's one more thing that I look at. And this isn't a collision, but it's something that I still look at to see if people loved a car. See this right here? This is known as the K-frame, the cross member.
The cross member, yeah.
This piece right here, on many cars, people put jacks under it over and over again, and they end up crushing this part into the car. See, we have one little tiny dent into it right there. Otherwise, this is literally pristine, like it came out of Oldsmobile factory in 1962. So this car, it scored a 9.5 on corrosion. It scores a 10 on collisions. So now come on out, if you would, And we're just going to sort of look back at the car. In fact, Chris, can you bring it down for me, please? So now we're going to look at the least important of the three, but still important, especially on a car like this, and that is completeness. So on the completeness, I don't care about tires, I don't care about brakes, I don't care too much about suspension components. What I'm really looking at is glass, trim, emblems, badges, dash, steering wheel, horn buttons, radios, knobs, window cranks, because those are all of the unobtainium parts. So if you would, come on up here and we're going to start in the front. Not only is this grille all here, but I mean the condition of it, there's not even any pitting. I mean this chrome here is not in show chrome shape. I'd give it probably a 7. So low driver quality, but it's there, and if you wanted to re-chrome it, that's a beautiful candidate for re-chroming. By the way, a quick note for everyone. If chrome parts have lots of corrosion in them, remember that #1 thing I talk about, corrosion? You can't re-chrome a badly corroded part. So this is one of those things that you can nicely re-chrome. All of this is in magnificent shape. Chris, I'm going to take the driver's side, you take the passenger side. I see one part that we're missing. What do you see right near your left hand?
The antenna.
Okay, so an antenna, not a great thing to be missing.
Not
but
the whole thing is missing, just the whip.
Okay, so the base is there, and we can reconstruct an original antenna as long as we've got that original base. So I would consider that a strong point. Here, our wipers are good, and now, this is a part that's going to be hard to find. This front window trim. What do you think, Chris? Do you see anything wrong with that front window trim?
No, I mean, the trim is perfect, really. You know, it's aluminum. They're aluminum to begin with, so it can be repolished. It's not like a chrome part.
Yeah.
You know, so we could definitely work with what's left,
Okay.
what the customers left us on this
Now,
one.
come on over here, and Chris, you just sort of parallel me on your side. And I know, folks, it might seem funny when I get excited about a piece of trim. Believe it or not, I wouldn't be that excited about this piece of trim on a 67 Camaro, but on a 1962 Oldsmobile Dynamic 88. First of all, this badge is unobtainium. You probably couldn't buy one at almost any price. But as I look at this piece of trim, follow it back, and you will notice that it goes through the front door, through the rear drawer, and not only is it all there, it doesn't even have any dents in it. There's no bangs in it. Nobody's hit this with a shopping cart. All of my window trim, which is just in magnificent shape, and comes to the back of the car, everything's there and perfect. Even the luggage rack. I mean, this is like the truckster luggage rack. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's sunroof.
I had no idea this was a sunroof car. I haven't come up here. This car is a factory 62 sunroof
Power.
station. Get out of here.
Yeah.
This is a power 62 sunroof. I didn't even think that existed. Okay, folks, Dan was once again stumped by something that he didn't know about. Talk about a cool factory option. On the truckster, we've got a power sunroof. All right, folks, so here's boiling all of this down. There are 3 things that are important. Look for corrosion first. Do not buy a rusted car and say, I'm going to fix it up. Rust can easily drive the price of a restoration by $100,000. Easily.
And by the way, crazy.
Oh, what's that?
It can also drive you crazy.
Let me tell you, somebody brings in a rusty car anymore, I just say, nope. It's just too far gone, because you start talking about stupid amounts of money. So corrosion, that's always your most important. Collisions, this is a car that if I were going to build and I wanted a station wagon, I'd absolutely build this one, because it's never been hit by anything. And when it comes to completeness, what have we found so far? I know, like, we had to restore the radiator. Because we couldn't find a replacement one. So, I mean, now that's $1,000 to restore a radiator, but we did it. We have restored every part on this car that we've taken off. And yes, I know it still looks a little dull on the outside. We'll deal with that at the end. So corrosion, completeness, or collisions, and then completeness. This car on completeness, Chris, I'm scoring this car probably a 9. I'll give it a 9-0 on completeness. What do you think?
I didn't find anything that didn't belong on this car other than somebody had used a Miller Lite can for a radiator catch can.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, Miller Lite's not the worst choice in the world.
Well, it just shows you that somebody loved it enough to stand around and work on it in their own time. Because
yeah, there you go.
They certainly didn't do it at the shop.
All right. So, folks, buy the right car. Don't buy the wrong car because you get it cheaper. Spend a little bit more money. Look beyond the shiny paint. Look into the 3 C's. Get the right car, and you'll have a far more successful build than if you start with a bad car. And, all right.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's, well, no, go away. All right, I'm done. I got work to do.
All right, can I go back to work now?
Yeah, turn the camera off. I'm done. Leave me alone.
Bye.
Okay, I'm leaving.
Bye.
All right, so let's get back on that fuel injection system.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well,
so I'm assuming
no,
we're done, right? You did shut it off. Okay, good.